Some of the biggest rivalries in wrestling didn't just happen in the ring, they exploded behind the scenes as well. Imagine having to share space with someone you absolutely despise, and worse, pretending everything is fine in front of millions of fans. Today, we're diving into the most intense real-life feuds between wrestlers who, despite hating each other backstage, had to swallow their pride and deliver unforgettable matches. 10. Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. One of the most controversial and intense rivalries is the one involving Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. Hall of Famer Bret Hart has never been shy about expressing his opinions, and his relationship with Hogan was marked by a series of confrontations, both in and out of the ring. It all began in 1993, when Hulk Hogan used his backstage influence to secure the WWE title, something that didn't sit well with the Hitman. When Hogan refused to lose to Hart, he sparked a friction that would only intensify over the years. But it wasn't just within WWE that the tension grew. When both moved to WCW, their relationship remained strained. Bret Hart, always critical and incisive, never hid his opinion of Hogan. He believed that the Immortal didn't really know how to wrestle, which led to many disagreements between the two. Bret even called Hogan a piece of a harsh accusation, especially when considering they were two of the biggest stars in wrestling history. On the other hand, Hulk Hogan had his own point of view. He suggested that Bret Hart never truly understood him, which, according to him, was the root of all the animosity between them. Was Hogan right in claiming that Bret didn't understand his style of working? Or was the Hitman simply defending his vision of pure technical wrestling against the spectacle promoted by Hogan? 9. Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. The rivalry between Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss is undoubtedly one of the most intense in WWE's recent women's division history. In 2017, they faced off in an epic battle, but what happened backstage made the story even more intriguing. Rumors began circulating, suggesting that Sasha and Alexa simply couldn't stand each other outside the ring, and the tension exploded after the Great Balls of Fire event. After the match, Sasha Banks, known for not being afraid to speak her mind, fired off during a promo that reverberated throughout the wrestling world. She personally attacked Alexa Bliss, accusing her of lying about her childhood and her passion for wrestling, claiming that Alexa was in WWE not because of her love for the sport, but with the goal of becoming a Hollywood star. These words further fueled the rivalry between the two. However, Alexa didn't back down. In an interview with ESPN, she downplayed Sasha's remarks, stating that the incident was just a moment of tension and assuring that both would remain professional inside the ring. But the question that lingered was, could they really separate personal feelings from professionalism, or was this rivalry much deeper than what was shown on WWE TV? 8. CM Punk and Ryback. If there's one name CM Punk probably avoids mentioning even in casual conversations, it's Ryback. And if you think that's an exaggeration, just remember how much Punk hated working with him. In 2012, WWE put the two in an intense rivalry, but the real problem started backstage. Ryback, known for his brute strength and physical style, was seen by many as a reckless wrestler, and Punk felt that firsthand, literally. The Second City Saint suffered injuries during his matches with Ryback and didn't hesitate to confront him backstage, accusing him of hurting him on purpose. Just imagine the scene. Punk, furious, looking Ryback in the eyes and directly asking if he was just sloppy or if he was doing it intentionally. And the response? Just the uncomfortable silence of the locker room. Now, any other company would probably avoid putting two wrestlers who despise each other into another feud, right? But this is WWE, where real-life conflicts are sometimes used as fuel for storylines. In 2013, Punk was once again forced to share the ring with Ryback, and his frustration went beyond the backstage drama. He made it clear that he simply didn't understand why the company insisted on making him work with someone he hated. This was one of several factors that contributed to his growing dissatisfaction with WWE. And when Punk finally left the company in 2014, he didn't hold back, naming Ryback as one of the biggest problems he had faced. Was there any chance of reconciliation? Almost none. Ryback, wasting no time, responded to Punk's criticism in the most mocking way possible, sarcastically calling him a 90-year-old Karen, a heel-worthy jab that only reinforced their real-life rivalry. At the end of the day, for CM Punk, Ryback was a nightmare in the ring and a symbol of his frustration with WWE. For Ryback, Punk was just another guy who loved to complain. 7. Scott Steiner and Triple H. Scott Steiner returned to WWE in 2002 with massive hype. The man was a machine in WCW, a monster of muscles, charisma, and insanity. But his comeback to Vince McMahon's company turned out to be a complete disaster. And the main culprit? Triple H. Or at least that was Steiner's version of the story. The original plan was to make Big Papa Pump's return a major event. His rivalry with Triple H for the world title had everything to be historic. But what happened in the ring was an absolute collapse. Steiner suffered from a condition called drop foot, which affected his mobility and made his moves look slow and awkward. And since the two faced off in back-to-back pay-per-view matches, the issue became even more evident. The bouts were heavily criticized and fans quickly realized something was off. Backstage, their relationship soured. Steiner believed Triple H was pulling the strings to bury him, ensuring a spot at the top of WWE remained unchallenged. Triple H, on the other hand, simple thought, him no longer has what it took to be in the main event scene. In the end, who won this backstage battle? Triple H, of course. After this disastrous rivalry, Big Papa Pump gradually fell down the card until he disappeared completely from WWE. A comeback that promised to be grand, but ended up becoming one of the biggest disappointments in wrestling history. 6. Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose. The match between Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania 32 generated high expectations, especially since it was a no-holds-barred street fight, a stipulation that allowed the use of weapons and made the match more brutal. Ambrose, known for his hardcore style and for bringing extreme elements into his matches, was determined to make the fight memorable. However, the match ended up being disappointing for both the fans and the wrestlers themselves. The bout lasted around 13 minutes and was widely criticized for its lack of intensity and innovation, especially considering the destructive potential of both competitors. After the event, Dean Ambrose publicly expressed his frustration with the match, stating that he had tried to pitch several ideas to make the fight more brutal and creative, but Lesnar showed no interest and rejected all of them. Ambrose described Lesnar as lazy and unmotivated, making it clear that the match could have been much better if his opponent had been more committed. On the other hand, Lesnar also didn't seem to like Ambrose's attitude. Reports suggest that he saw no reason to make the match more elaborate or to take unnecessary risks, since his status in the company and his highly lucrative contract did not require him to put in extra effort. This resulted in a match with no chemistry, where the two clearly were not on the same page inside the ring. 5. Goldberg and Chris Jericho. The rivalry between Bill Goldberg and Chris Jericho began in WCW, where their conflict started gaining traction. At the time, Goldberg, one of the company's biggest icons, had a strict view of who he believed was worthy of his time and effort in the ring. He saw Jericho, who played a more comedic and flamboyant character, as a lesser wrestler who lacked the same level of seriousness he brought. This led Goldberg to refuse a match against Jericho, believing he didn't deserve the chance to stand out alongside someone as dominant as him. When both ended up in WWE in 2003, the clash of egos intensified. Jericho, already established as one of the company's biggest stars, was not willing to let Goldberg's criticisms go unanswered. Backstage, Jericho confronted Goldberg about his remarks, leading to a heated argument between them. The disagreement quickly escalated into a physical altercation, with Jericho reportedly coming out on top, further increasing the tension between them. Despite this personal rivalry, when WWE had them work together in the summer of 2003, both showed professionalism. They went through with what was required, performing their roles as wrestlers and being part of the company's card without letting their personal issues completely interfere with the product. 4. Edge and Matt Hardy. In 2005, one of WWE's most controversial scandals came to light when Matt Hardy publicly revealed that his then-girlfriend, Lita, had cheated on him with Edge. The betrayal not only affected Hardy emotionally, but also had a significant impact on how fans perceived all three individuals involved. The situation sparked a wave of outrage, and WWE shocked everyone by firing Hardy, which led to a strong backlash from fans who demanded his return through online campaigns and protests during shows. Due to public pressure, WWE decided to rehire Hardy and turn the entire controversy into an in-ring rivalry. However, this decision was extremely risky, as the tension between Hardy and Edge was real and intense. This was not just a scripted wrestling storyline, but a deeply personal situation that had been exposed to the public. Working together was a major challenge for both men. especially for Hardy, who had to control his emotions and maintain professionalism. Despite the legitimate animosity, both managed to channel this energy into their matches, making their confrontations intense and memorable. 3. Chris Jericho and Triple H. Chris Jericho and Triple H also had a troubled relationship behind the scenes in WWE for many years. The animosity between them began in the late 1990s, when Jericho had an intense rivalry with Chyna, who at the time was Triple H's ex-girlfriend. During their matches, Jericho was accused of being overly aggressive, which displeased Triple H, who was already an influential figure within the company. Despite this tension, the two were forced to work together multiple times, leading to memorable rivalries. In 2000, they clashed over the WWE Championship, including a controversial match on Monday Night Raw, where Jericho seemingly defeated Triple H for the title, only for the decision to be reversed shortly after. The rivalry reached a new level in 2002, when Jericho faced Triple H in the main event of WrestleMania 18, competing for the undisputed WWE Championship. Although there were backstage disagreements, both maintained professionalism in the ring, resulting in high-quality matches. Jericho revealed in interviews that Triple H had significant backstage influence in WWE, being one of the most powerful figures in the company alongside Vince McMahon. According to Jericho, Triple H didn't actively try to harm his career, but his high status and decision-making power could indirectly affect other wrestlers' opportunities. Over time, their relationship improved, but the tension that existed in the early years left a mark on both of their careers in the company. 2. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels started their careers in WWE with a respectful relationship, even being friends in the early years. However, this friendship began to deteriorate when Michaels joined the Clique, an influential backstage group formed by him, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and Sean Waltman. Michaels adopted a more arrogant and politically influential stance behind the scenes, which generated friction with Hart, who always valued respect and camaraderie among wrestlers. The tensions began to escalate in the mid-90s, as both wrestlers vied for the top spot in WWE. Hart, a technical and traditional champion, represented the old guard of wrestling, while Michaels, with his more rebellious attitude and high-flying style, was seen as the face of the new generation. Their rivalry spilled over beyond the ring, resulting in exchanges of barbs and promos and interviews, often bringing real personal resentments to the forefront. In one such exchange, Michaels hinted in a promo that Hart was having an affair with Sonny, which deeply angered the Canadian. The animosity became so intense that in 1997, the two got into a real backstage fight, where Hart reportedly pulled out clumps of Michaels' hair. The peak of their rivalry came at Survivor Series 1997, during the infamous Montreal Screwjob. Hart, who was about to leave WWE for WCW, expected to retain his WWE Championship and hand it over respectfully later on. However, Vince McMahon, fearing that Hart would take the title to the competition, orchestrated a plan with Michaels and referee Earl Hebner to abruptly end the match, causing Hart to lose the title against his will. The Screwjob completely destroyed the relationship between Hart and Michaels. Hart felt betrayed not only by Vince, but especially by Michaels, who claimed to be unaware of the scheme until years later when he admitted his involvement. After the incident, Hart left WWE resentful, and the two spent over a decade without direct contact. Despite their mutual hatred, their matches were always spectacular and helped define an era of WWE. Years later, in 2010, the two finally reconciled during an appearance on Monday Night Raw, sealing their reunion with a handshake and a hug, something many fans never imagined would happen. 1. CM Punk and Triple H. Triple H also had a troubled relationship with CM Punk behind the scenes in WWE, marked by creative and personal disagreements. The tension between them began in 2011, when Punk was at his peak following the famous pipe bomb promo and his WWE Championship victory. However, his clash with Triple H at Night of Champions that year was a turning point. Punk felt that the rivalry with the game did not benefit his career and believed that Triple H was more interested in protecting his own image than in elevating new talent. On the other hand, Triple H saw Punk as someone difficult to deal with backstage, with a defiant attitude that often clashed with the company's hierarchy. Over the years, this animosity remained behind the scenes, especially because Punk constantly felt undervalued and underutilized by WWE, while Triple H rose to higher positions of power within the company. By early 2014, Punk was increasingly frustrated with his standing in WWE, particularly with the creative decisions for WrestleMania 30. He had hoped for a chance to compete for the WWE Championship at the biggest event of the year, but was informed that his storyline would involve a feud with Triple H. To Punk, this was a step backward and reinforced his belief that the company did not see him as a major star. His frustration reached its breaking point after Royal Rumble 2014, when he decided to stop attending WWE events, essentially walking away from the company. At first, his absence was treated as a temporary break, but it soon became clear that Punk was not returning, leading to his official release months later. Punk and Triple H's relationship has remained cold, and although both have avoided making very direct public statements. Now, years later, CM Punk returned to WWE and consequently reconciled with Triple H, who now runs the entire WWE. In an interview with the MMA Hour, he said, "We just talked about a whole lot of stuff, and about stuff that was at one point serious to probably both of us. That is silly now, and we just kind of laughed and buried the hatchet, and then we started talking business. Which rivalry do you think is the best? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you in the next one."